Next in.
Welcome to Next In. We got Shane Chown and me, your host Taylor. We actually don't have a guest this week, which is pretty exciting. We almost always have a guest, someone in product, someone in engineering. We've had some fantastic guests from some fantastic companies. This week, it's just gonna be Shane and I. We're gonna be rapping here, chit chatting about some of the news
Rapping
of the
minus the
day.
rapping.
Well,
Very literal
rapping in
rapping.
the sense of, you know, communicating with each other. And we're going to be chatting about some of the stuff that's going down, some of the stuff that's going down this week and next. We got some cool announcements for next week here in Nashville. We'll start off. Shane, how was your week? It's Friday.
It is hot today. It is hot today. Our AC apparently is out. It's like 78 degrees inside, and it's driving me a little nuts right now. So
Yep.
if we're going a little bonkers during this, it's because we're a little overheated. And I have drank zero water today, and sponsorship thanks to Bang. No sponsorship yet, but I'm waiting for dollars to come in. But that's all I've drank today so far, and had some dope poke because I have never had a poke bowl before today, and it was fabulous. It was
Pokey
fantastic.
is awesome in Brentwood, right off of Old Hickory and Franklin. Pokey Brothers, I think it's called Pokey Bros. Is fantastic. So anyone here in Nashville, go check it out. That's what we had for lunch. Yes. Anything
I
else
scooped
big?
a tuna.
It was a
This is
lot,
way
lot
too
of
much
fish. It
tuna.
was a lot of fish. But then again, it was like a $20 bowl that you and I both ate. So
Yeah, but to be fair, like obviously I'm from Seattle, and so I'm usually like a fish snob. So I've honestly avoided poke out here, and I've avoided like sushi out here just because living in Seattle, living in Vancouver, BC, like I always felt like I was spoiled. But it was pretty good. It was like for inner America, like at Backwood Hicks, we're next to the farmlands apparently. I didn't realize that, but my assumption of Nashville was always like farm, grazing, cows, pigs, whatever. And no, we had awesome seafood today.
yes, well, we did eat like pigs. So other things going on. We got next week, big announcement next week on Wednesday, September 15th. We are going to have our second Nashville Founders Live event. So we are really excited. The first one was amazing. Our marketing team, Maddie Cooper specifically, has posted some YouTube videos, highlights from the first event we held in January, and that was awesome. The venue's amazing. Spaces Downtown sponsors the event and is fantastic for letting us use their venue. We had fantastic beer, fantastic wine, a lot of fun, a lot of amazing pitches from the 4+1 founders that went last time.
I know we used New Heights Brewery last time. I'm like debating, do I use New Heights again and try something new there? Do I go to a different brewery? Is there a cooler brewery in Nashville that I'm unaware of? If there are, I'm looking for new breweries, whether that's for Founders Live or personal use, TBD, but like beers in the comments down below. 'Cause I'm a little
And
bit of a beer snob.
any brewery wants to sponsor the event,
Any brewery that wants to sponsor.
we're open to that as well.
We have a distillery. We're checking the legality behind whether or not we can have the distillery pass out free drinks, shots at a time.
Because they're in
Make
Kentucky.
voting get weird.
Yeah. The distillery might win the event even though they didn't pitch. So we got that going on next Wednesday. Go to Eventbrite. You can grab your tickets. We'll also post the Eventbrite link down below in the comments. So you can grab a ticket. It's a lot of fun. 6 to 9 next Wednesday night, downtown Nashville. Parking's validated. I keep forgetting to tell people that, but it's kind of a big deal. Some people are like, yeah, $25 to park. Well, it'd be worth it, but it is validated, so it's free parking.
So don't turn around, guys. Swipe through. We'll validate for you.
We'll
We
validate.
will. We promise.
So we got
Pinky and
that
everything.
going on. We got that going on next week. The stuff we wanted to cover today, the reason why you actually are listening outside of our amazing banter, we wanted to go over kind of the market right now. Obviously, not to sound arrogant, but we might understand the job and labor market, certainly from an engineering perspective and a product perspective, technology perspective, as well as anyone in that space, just because, again, of the wide array of customers of ours that we work with and what we're finding from all the thousands of candidates we meet with on a monthly basis. What's going on? What are they getting paid at their current companies? What are they getting offers at other companies, whether, the big name FANG companies or startups and whatnot? Right now, it feels very, very, very much like it is an employee market. It kind of feels like the housing market from the seller side, where the seller can just basically say a number and everyone buys it. As long as the house isn't totally dilapidated, basically you throw out a price and you get it. It kind of feels that way from the employee standpoint. Shane, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's not as bad as like when the other day you saw that flip where it was like the house that was overrun by rats selling for $1.6 million in San Francisco. It's not that
Yes.
bad. It's not that bad. That's a little extreme, but yeah, it's been interesting over the last year as companies are going more and more remote and adopting this concept of a hybrid workforce where they might have a couple of co-locations, but they're starting to seep into some of these little nuggets in the middle of the U.S. That is dramatically lower in wage than San Francisco, New York, Seattle, Austin, and other major markets. And it's causing, in my opinion, it's causing a rise or an influx in people leaving their current jobs. There's a lot more people on the market now more than ever. But with that said, there's more demand to hire as investment is starting to go up and dollars and investors are starting to give out these massive series. Like it's been crazy this year where I don't know if I've seen the like Series A and Series B ever as high as it's been lately. We've been seeing like $60 million plus is like an average Series A lately. And don't quote me on that. I don't have access to all that data, but that's an assumption. That's a feeling. And because people are starting to go remote, it's causing people to get more and more offers, and they just can sit at their house and do the entire interview from their home. They could do a final interview in the same room. I could sit here and do 5 final interviews. I won't, but like I
So is
could.
it, so is this bubble going to burst? I mean, at some point this has to, right? You can't keep paying everyone $400,000 to sit in Cincinnati in a market where you can buy a very nice house for $400,000 and like live like a king, right? In Cincinnati or in Akron, I'm dogging out Ohio, but Oklahoma City or wherever, right? Even Springfield, Illinois, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, wherever, anywhere outside of, like you mentioned, the Bay Area, maybe LA, Seattle,
Dude,
New
Des Moines,
York.
Iowa. Like we just had a principal engineer in Des Moines, Iowa. Not once in her career has she ever made more than $120,000. 20 years of experience, awesome engineer. She just got an offer for a total comp of like $295,000, and we just doubled her income. Apparently her husband's going to stop working, and she's going to be the breadwinner in the house so he can just focus on art, because she's getting a job that is so much higher than she's ever had or even really needs, because she just got hired by a San Francisco based company in the middle of nowhere, and her husband's going to stop working and build a passion project out of, like, I think he does something like he makes used furniture vintage and fun again
Okay, okay.
and sells it.
So
Yeah.
how does, all right, so then you're a company that's a startup, you've got 47 employees, you're trying to grow your engineering. You're not in this, you're not doing PHP or .NET or all this. Like you're on the forefront when it comes to, you're someone looking for the React and the Node and the Angular, or some of the more forefront kind of engineering, and you want to hire some employees, but you're based in Oklahoma City, but you're a great tech company. How can you compete with that kind of San Francisco name? If
Camp.
your neighborhood person can get $400,000 or $300,000, how do you compete with it?
Yeah, that's a good conversation. I think that's one that we've been having with a lot of our clients lately, where either they have an in-house recruiter or they have no recruiting at all. And some of these companies have been waiting for inbound applicants, right? And so, internally, obviously, we're a recruiting agency and we're a sales forward organization. And we always have this conversation of like the difference between hunters and gatherers, farmers, versus people that are going out and actively approaching different candidates and actively selling their mission, their values, and getting people to connect. And the hard part is so many companies are more of like that farmer, especially
Gatherer.
in
I like
areas
gatherer.
the
I think
gatherer.
hunter
Yeah.
gatherer, right? Someone who more the gatherer, which again, there's a place for that. It's not that there's no need for it, but I agree. I like to train. I like to work with hunters who have the mentality of I have to go get, not I wait for it to come.
So
Um,
companies, there's a couple of things. Like either you need to be able to raise your comp bands or try to compete with the people that you know are of value, and or you need to be better at selling your mission, your values, selling your futures, selling the
your
reasons why
culture,
you're selling your culture. Like you have to be like all these small companies have to have some sort of like sales driven approach to get people to buy into their company. And I think that's a really big issue with a lot of our customers right now, is like they just don't have like a sales forward approach to recruiting talent into their team, and they just
do you
expect.
do you think to some extent this is, and I've thought this since I was younger, even, maybe not as a kid, but younger, where I was like, well, if you live in America and assume that the US dollar is the base currency across the world. So you live in America, or you live in, yeah, America, and you have $300,000, and that doesn't buy you this grandiose house. But if you were to take that money and go move to Mexico, India, some of these other countries, you
Arkansas.
are,
Yeah.
well, that's what I'm getting at, is you could live like a king, right? So you build up a nest egg in the nice place, and then boom, you go somewhere else. It's kind of that idea that you can drive up whatever you want if you go to a much lower economic part of the world. Same thing where you drive up the money in San Francisco, where it's almost like inflated everything. Everything's inflated out there. Everything, cost of living, housing. You drive it up there, but then all of a sudden you go hire employees out of Arkansas, or rural Texas, or Des Moines, or Montana, or wherever, and now you can kind of rule over the world, sort of in an inflation kind of concept of your money is worth way more in a different market than it is in your current market, because
Well,
two
let's be
hundred
real,
thousand
right?
dollars in San Francisco, it doesn't get you anything. Like I said, dilapidated, disgusting, rat-ridden house with no land in the middle of just the Bay Area for $1.6 million, then renovated with 200 grand worth of renovations, sold for 2.4 million. So just chew on that for a second and go, wow, if I made 200 grand, I can't even afford this small, what was it? It was like 2,400 square foot house. I mean, it's just crazy to me, and I think crazy to many people. But if that's the market you're coming from and you're going to hire employees in Des Moines, you're going to win 10 times out of 10.
And that's what we're dealing with right now, right? Like I'm coming from Seattle and I bought a house in Nashville. And when I saw the house and I saw the value of that house, I didn't even have to look at it. I just was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. Dope. Done.
Well, and
Easy
that's the
peasy.
problem with that is the challenge in the Nashville housing market, is all of this
Yeah.
outside money has come in, the Chicago money, the New York money, the San Francisco money, the Seattle money has come in, and it in many ways has kind of destroyed the market here.
Well,
And part of
dude, I
why
mean, yeah, to that point, like when I came in, I bought that house. I thought I was getting a deal. It was like 20, it was like 80% off compared to, the house that I was gonna have to buy in Seattle or could have bought in Seattle. It's like the house that I got here, 80% off for the same size of land, 2 acres, whatever. Um, and then I show up and my neighbors were mad at me. My neighbors were like, you way overpaid for this house. Like and I thought I was getting some massive 80% discount and I wasn't. Right. And so I think that's happening in the employment market in a lot of areas within the US that aren't your major markets. And I'm
so
curious on what happens next as
well, I'm seeing
that
I'm
goes up.
seeing some response, at least with some of our companies in Q3 and Q4, because we know that that's going to be massive hiring for us. We're going to be able to place, those will be our biggest quarters, and a lot of that has to do with, I think companies are recognizing there is an arms race for talent. I mean, very
Yeah.
simple stuff like I saw today, I don't remember where I saw it. Amazon is going to offer 100% tuition reimbursement for hourly employees. And it's like, holy cow, it's blowing, it's causing a problem, I think, in many ways in the labor market. Um, but what's happening is a lot of these companies are responding with, we need to hire faster. Google has been well known for like 8 weeks of an interview process, and it's tons of steps
Eight
and everything
weeks
else.
for review, and
Yeah.
3 years later you get your offer. And you're like,
And
well,
and so I think companies are responding. We have some clients, very large client, publicly traded even, and they're trying to shorten down their interview process to 2 weeks and condense 3 steps in a process into one day, and offering more money and everything else to try to make sure that they can capture, the talent faster. Um, I think that's a really, really smart tactic. Get out the communication faster, make decisions faster, bring on the engineers much sooner.
and I do see it as like a big Q3 drive. I think every single year that I've been in recruiting, it seems like September and October end up being like the hiring sprints. Like everybody understands that they've got these budgets, they have hiring budgets, they have hiring goals, and typically in Q3 people are like, I'm not on target to hit my goal, and we haven't spent our budget, and we have to get all of this done before we get clogged up by the holidays. And so I do think that we always see kind of like these hiring tactics to reduce time to get people through the door. But I think that it's happening more now than ever. It's not just these organizations that have continuously done this year over year, but it looks like there's so many companies that are starting to adopt this idea of 1 day interview practices where it's like, how do we get what is a 5 step interview process all consolidated in a single day, and doing these like hiring days where we get leadership or management or whoever needs to be in the hiring committee or hiring party committed to doing Thursdays and Fridays are exclusively for interviews as a drive to get hires prior to the holidays hitting. Um, you know, it's interesting that this year it's happening. I feel like more than ever. It's crazy. Some of our clients have not only have they committed to reducing their time to hire, not only have they committed to very specific days for their employees to um, take time off to make sure that hiring is the number one priority. We have clients that are saying in the month of September, any offers given are going to be, we're willing to pay 15% more just to get them through the door. And not only are we willing to pay the employee 15% more, but you as an agency, we're also going to pay you 10% more. And we're going to give you a higher cut because we understand that hiring is the most crucial and most important thing. And we know that going into the holidays, we're going to have a slowdown. And if we don't hit our goals, they just got to roll into 2022, and that's a bigger problem for us to have.
So all of this is really being driven in many ways that we haven't even talked about, which is the remote environment. That's why this is happening, right? Because a San Francisco company can offer a Des Moines engineer $300,000 and don't have to relocate. Whereas if they had to reload, well, then the 300 grand in San Francisco doesn't do them much good, but the 300 grand in Des Moines does. Do you see there's going to be a pushback against this remote world? Do you think there's going to be, in engineering, you think it's
Honestly,
engineering
I
to
think it's going to
engineering?
get more and more difficult. And if you look at the market right now, we've got so many companies that are like remote enablement software companies. So there are all these SaaS companies that are popping up to help influence and to drive remote first organizations. And I actually think that it's going to get worse way before it gets better. Um,
Yeah.
Whatever side you lead on, whether you're for or against remote work, I love the hybrid model just because like I like being in office and I can knock on this door and you might be able to hear me, whatever. High fives are a real big deal to me. I like high fives, but it's not make or break. You can do a remote workforce now, and we're starting to have tools that are going to make it 10 times easier, onboarding 10 times easier. I mean, we're
Well,
obviously
Trainual, we just spoke
Trainual.
to the, like, that is essentially a training slash corporate policy type
There are all these like
platform.
internal community building things. um Man, I feel bad now. We just spoke to the product manager 2 weeks ago, three
Taylor,
weeks ago.
Taylor, his name is
Not
Taylor.
Taylor, not that one.
Oh,
The one prior. I mean, their whole goal was like removing barriers for employees to build community and share company news and to share information with each other. And I do think that there's going to be more of these remote employee enablement tools to increase um, company retention and to reduce churn of employees over time. Um, but because of it, there's going to be more churn. And I mean, I know Microsoft's been going out with articles lately about how employees can leave their jobs faster than ever at the convenience of their home. And it's just going to happen. It's going to reduce the barrier to find new talent, but it's going to increase competition for talent. I think competition for talent right now is higher than ever. And the crazy part is last year, good engineers had 3 to 5 offers every single time, all the time. And we always had to battle that. Now we're not battling 3 to 5 offers anymore. This year we're battling 6 to 10 offers because people, they don't have to take off time. They don't have to like sneak away from the office. They don't have to do anything. They just sit at home and do an interview and just,
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Again, it's good news for us, right? It keeps us. I mean, it doesn't hurt us. We're able to win very often, which is good because again, we take the hunter approach. We're able to find these people and so on. So it's not necessarily bad news for us. I get concerned personally for where does this take us, because I do think it can get worse before it gets better. I think there's, again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm old school. The just the element of building a community online just is not a real community, right? Like the idea that
A
like
lot
your
of
best,
Facebook groups tell you otherwise, my man. I mean, it's crazy. Like
I find,
esports
I
is
don't
starting
know.
to skyrocket. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and you know what? Esports fills stadiums. I mean, it still does. Like, I get that it's an esport,
yeah,
but they still pack in the stadium. 100,000 people go watch it because there's something about that
Travis
live
Scott.
event.
I know, dude. I'm totally down for live events. I'm the person that goes to the bank every single time just to chat with somebody.
Look at you, old man. You're a boomer. What do you just
I
still
walk
write?
I
You
walk
still
into the
text
bank because
too?
I just want to talk to somebody as an excuse. I don't use the self checkout. Sometimes I do if it's convenient, but like normally I just try to use normal checkout because I just want to talk to
You're
a human being.
all right. Shane's lying. He used it today when he bought the bang. I was with him.
I know I kind of backed out because you were with me, but that's because the bang was like I needed it now and I don't need to talk to somebody about my addictions. Not going to not going to the store for an AA meeting, but like yeah, I'm like,
So yeah, I get. I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting. We started talking about this. I don't know if you remember one of our first episodes. That was a big conversation. Was remote, hybrid, in office or on prem, as they would say in the engineering world. I think in engineering, I think you're going to find more of it. But I think there's going to be a little bit of a comeback to the office. I think people will get sick and tired of it. You see it, this Zoom fatigue. I mean, people get sick of it. It is stupid. Come on. We do an in-office conference room meeting on Monday and Friday, and
and it's awesome. I love it.
it's great. But then on whatever it was 3 weeks ago or whatever, I had to be at home for that, and I was at home, and I'll tell you, I felt so disengaged from the meeting. I was like, I was itching to be in the room. I was like, oh, I want to hear the joke that they just told. Like, I want to hear that. I don't know. Yes, you can build some level of community. I still think there has to be, and I do think you're seeing that some of the companies we're hiring are saying we'll hire remote, but they have to be willing to come once a month or once a quarter to the office because they're recognizing you just can't really truly be tight with your coworkers strictly through Zoom. That's just not going to happen. You can have some connection there. I mean, heck, we're doing this and it makes it look like we're in two different locations. You could knock on the wall and I'd hear it because we're in rooms next to each other, right? So I think there's something about that that's way, way more fun and enjoyable. And I think the other thing, Shane, and you've said it, is it's very easy for people to jump ship. I think you'll see attrition rates go through the roof as people go fully remote. I think you'll see there's going to be far less of your, I bleed the Google, I don't know, 4 colors that Google is. They're not going to bleed that as much anymore because who cares? I just work for some company online and I go get my
Nothing
dry
in your life
cleanings.
changes besides the name on your paycheck when you're 100% remote. Sometimes, not for all people, but for some people, I've had a lot of roundtable conversations about this over the last couple of months, which is the idea that like the only thing that might change in somebody's life is the upper left hand, pay stub if they still receive paper pay stubs. Otherwise, it's digital and it's in your bank, and like you never even look at the digital statements on your bank sometimes. So maybe
Yeah.
nothing changes besides your daily
Yeah.
frustrations.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see a spike in attrition, but you'll also see people are going to, you're going to see probably a spike, at least for the short term, on compensation for these engineers because they can do it anywhere in the world. And heck, half of these companies build stuff for remote, right? That's their whole point is to help companies go remote. So they kind of have to go remote, right? So I think
And
you'll
those
see
investment
this.
dollars are massive. It's massive. It's crazy how much money's going into it right now.
Yeah, well, that didn't hurt that, $2 trillion got dumped, or $6 trillion got dumped into the economy a year ago. I think you'll start to see that come back. That's part of why you see a big increase in, just everything, stocks and so on. I talked to my buddy, why are stocks going up if we're COVID lockdowns and all this? And he's like, well, when you pump $6 trillion into the economy, it's got to go somewhere, right? And oftentimes that does, rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. So, we'll see. It's going to be, again, I've said it for a while. It's going to be interesting to watch some of the ebbs and flows with the remote versus hybrid versus in office. I'm with you. I like hybrid. We're working on that internally ourselves on how to balance making sure we keep the culture, making sure we can still be as effective for our clients if we're not in office. Sometimes it can be slightly more effective, but I think over time it becomes less effective. I think short term. So we're thinking of doing, a 4-and-1, 4 days in, 1 day out for people to be able to focus for a day and stuff like that. So something we're working through ourselves. So I don't know. It's a good topic. I think we'll be talking about it for probably the next 12 months. So everyone,
At least the next 12 months. Yeah, and it's crazy because I honestly think like, dude, what we 90% of our customers right now, 100% remote, totally down, and it's been tough because we have some clients that want people on site, and it's literally the most difficult. They're on site. Like we have some roles that are on site in Seattle, recruiting people in Seattle that have no desire to go on site in Seattle, right?
it's mind blowing.
Ever. Like they're in Seattle, they live there, they're walking distance from the office, zero desire to go into that
But
office.
we also have
It
other
blows my mind.
people, and we also have other people,
Yeah.
candidates who have said, I want to be on prem. I really
Yeah.
at
That. Yeah.
least have the ability to get on premise, but that's what I would far prefer, that they would be on prem or very close, to be able to go there a lot. Maybe they say hybrid's fine, but if I'm fully remote, that I'm not looking for that. So we do see
Yeah.
that, and I think you're going to see more and more. Obviously, COVID's been doing this to us, kind of ups and downs with how that's going, and we're in an up right now, and hopefully the down is a couple of weeks away. So we'll see. But but again, we will be our next or our founders live event next Wednesday is outdoor, so it's totally cool. All the research says outdoor events there is no spreading of COVID. So and we don't do food for that purpose. So we do drinks, but not food. So please come join us next Wednesday, September 15th from 6 to 9 at the Spaces downtown Nashville in the Bank of America building, 13th floor, rooftop deck, overlooking Nissan Stadium. It's absolutely beautiful. So come join us, grab a ticket at the Eventbrite link below. If you're a company who is looking for someone to go hunting for you and win at this arms race that is talent, nextlevel.io, we are happy to help. You can connect with either Shane or myself on LinkedIn as well. I don't know if there's an at, but go find us. You'll find us. We're not that hard to find. So
Look for the little red horse.
look for the little red horse, not the knight
The
in
knight.
chess, but the little red horse. So thanks for joining us. September 10th. Tomorrow marks the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001. Which Shane, you probably don't even remember. You're too young. I remember it distinctly, and maybe next time we'll talk a little bit about that. So um, but November 11th, 20-year anniversary for that awful day. I remember that. I was in college. You were in diapers. So, but everyone, come back next week. I believe we have an interview next week. So come back, check us out. And I hope to see everyone who's in the Nashville area at our Founders Live event. And if not, you should fly in for it. It's totally worth it. We actually have some sponsors flying in for it and whatnot. So come on in. It's going to be a blast. It's free too. So hopefully you enjoyed today's show. Comment below. Give Shane some of your craft brewery distilleries down below so that he can add to his lovely figure. So, all right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.
Next in.